Today we are going to show you how to install a Gypframe concealed ceiling grid, clad with a 9mm Rhino board. For the purposes of this video and demonstration, a Gypframe D37-32K concealed grid will be used. Please note that the installation steps for any other ceiling grid profile may differ slightly. Ensure that you have the correct protective wear because safety comes first. You will need the following tools. You will also need the following components to install this system. In order to preserve product quality, please ensure that you handle it correctly. Avoid leaning the product boxes against walls or stacking them on top of one another. The box should be placed flat on the ground when removing the product from it. Now that we have all the components, tools and PPE, we can begin with installation. Firstly, you will need to determine the required ceiling level using a measuring tape. Measure the specified height from floor to ceiling and mark it using a builder's pencil on the wall. Use the laser leveling tool equipment for determining a straight and level line and mark the length of the wall using a chalk line. Measure the chalk line and cut the gyprock galvanized angle to that length. Now, determine the halfway point. Position the wall angle on the chalk line and fix the wall angle to the wall using the gyprock sharp point screw. Start at the center and move outward in 300mm intervals. In instances where the room is not square, which is often the case, a manual grid squaring process will be required. First, we have to determine the reference point. Measure 400mm from the corner and mark it on both walls. Next, connect the building line from the opposite ends of the wall, creating intersecting building lines. Starting from the reference point, make a mark on the wall in 1200mm intervals until the last fitting 1200mm. We can then continue to the second step in the squaring process. So how do we create a perfect square? We use the 3-4-5 squaring rule. Mark the point where the building lines intersect as point A. From this point, measure 1200mm on one line and mark it point B. Then, from point A, measure 900mm on the other building line and mark it point C. The 3-4-5 rule dictates that the distance between point B and C should be 1500mm when square. Adjust either building line to achieve this ratio. The next step is to provide grid suspension. Start by fixing the first angle to the soffit no more than 400mm from the wall. Further, fix the angles at every 1200mm intervals. Proceed with installing the main tees. Ensure that the cut is mited on the first and last tee, closest to each wall. Fix the first main tee at the first reference point and the rest of the main tees at 1200mm intervals, as previous markings indicate. Next, fix the main tees to each galvanized angle using a gyprock wafer head tech screw 13mm. The Gypframe D32K cross tees are ready to be clipped in. Start by fixing the first one to the first apertures in the adjacent main tees. Continue fixing the cross tees at 400mm intervals until the grid is complete. The grid is now complete and ready for the 9mm Rhino board to be installed. For more information on this and other Gyprock products, please visit our website at www.gyprock.co.za.